Welcome back, guys, to Octopath Traveler 2. Last episode, continuing Cassidy's Chapter 2, we met the Fred lurking under the sand as it dragged Edmund underground. Following into its lairs, we engaged and defeated the Sand Line, while Edmund rescued his enemies. After treating Griff and his forces, leading to a temporary truce between the two fighting sides, he shared with us a rumor of Purple Rain that wiped out a village Ayers Apothecaries was at, jogging part of a memory for our apothecary. We now sniff out the scent of commerce once again.
Right, we got a quest in here, and we also have Partitio, another thing.
Huh? The emblem drawn on that card. He can't be. Is that the crest of the legendary merchant Masood? Come to think of it, he was supposed to hail from around these parts. Masood. The merchant who walked the entirety of both the eastern and western continents. Every merchant worth their salt would give a left kidney to read the chronicles he penned of his travels, the Mercantile Manuscript. To think I'd have the chance to meet him in a place like this. I need to take a gander at that Mercantile Manuscript.
I had to keep checking the skies for maple. Watch out for floating tails. Okay, a medium wind soulstone. Hello, it's locked, currently.
Who are you?
Howdy, you're the legendary merchant Masood, ain't you? Oh, there's something I'm dying to ask you.
It's polite to introduce oneself before shouting questions at strangers, you know.
Oh, pardon me. Partitio, at your service. I'm a merchant.
So? What does Partitio the merchant want with a retired old man like me?
Oh, I've heard stories about you ever since I was a chickadee. Like that time you struck a deal with that horde of bandits, or when you saved that little kingdom in the west from famine. Oh yeah, and when you scuffled with the royal family? That story's stuck in my old noggin.
I asked you what you wanted with me. A merchant should know how to get to the point.
Yeah, right again. Sorry, got carried away. I'll cut to the chase. Let me read that chronicle you penned, the Mercantile Manuscript.
No. Now leave.
Huh?
Don't make me repeat myself. I have no obligation nor reason to let a nobody like you anywhere near it.
Nobody? Now listen here, that's hurtful. Besides, even a nobody's got a nobody's pride. And if I may toot my own horn, I've got some merchant chops to my name.
Oh, you do you? Then I'll give you a test. Prove your worth to me, oh nobody of supposed talent.
This is what I'm talking about. You got yourself a deal, fella.
Good. As a merchant, there's one treasure I value above all else. Bring it to me.
Huh?
If you profess to be a merchant, the answer should be obvious. Of course, if you think this test unfair, you could just give...
Interesting. I always stock whatever it is my customer's looking for. That's my merchant's creed. I promise, I'll figure out what your treasure is, fella, and bring it right here to you.
I'd very much like to see you try. The
legendary Masood's treasure, huh? I'll need to start by looking for clues. Maybe someone around town knows a thing or two about it. Time to gather information.
It's probably toilet roll. How many skilled loot players in queue? I'd love to go there again someday. I know, I stole it. I mean, wait. So who am I talking to here that might have the information? My father told me that we should all treasure ourselves. Thank you, Masood's daughter. Daughter of the legendary merchant Masood. She does not resent her father for disregarding both herself and her mother for the sake of his business, but she does not respect him either. She simply resolves never to live the same way he did. I'm gonna hire you.
Let's work up a nice sweat.
Alright, I'll follow you. I think he might treasure his daughter. I've got a mate, Oswald, who might mug her if you don't.
As promised, I brought you your treasure, Masood.
You did you? Show me.
Your greatest treasure is her, your daughter.
Incorrect. Try again.
What?
It is true that many value their family above any jewel or gem. But that is not the answer that I am seeking for this particular test. Better luck next time.
Better throw out the stock then.
Tarnation. I was sure I had it.
What is this test that father gave you?
Huh?
Ah, what father meant wasn't his treasure in particular, but what a merchant treasures most. The thing you treasure most as a merchant isn't leaves or sundries, right?
A merchant's treasure.
That's all the hints you'll get from me. Good luck.
What do I treasure as a merchant? Like she said, not leaves or sundries, that's for sure. That's it. My greatest treasure is me. In which case, Masood must feel the same way, too. It's worth a shot, anyhow.
Some point he's gonna be like, the customer. I don't know. Can't be a merchant if there ain't no customers. What do you want me to do? I'm gonna hire you. For 5 grand? Bull crap. No, this is a con. Good merchanting, though. Once a famed merchant who traversed both continents, at the time both land and sea routes were yet undeveloped, so it was no small feat to visit all 8 regions. His efforts earned him the repute of a great merchant, but he lost much in the process.
That was very helpful.
No, it wasn't. Can I just mug him?
You want to hire me? What is the meaning of this insult, Mr. Nobody?
I've figured out your treasure, fella. It's you, yourself. You asked me to find the treasure you value most as a merchant. I figured every merchant's got one treasure they set store by above all else. Connections they've built, book learning, and experience. All these things are far more valuable than any material object, leaves included. Or am I wrong?
Correct. I'm surprised you got it.
Of course I did. My greatest treasure's the same as yours, after all. Besides, your daughter gave me a friendly push in the right direction. If I couldn't find the answer after all that, I'd have no right to call myself a merchant.
I am honestly astonished that there are still merchants in this world who know how to see to the heart of matters. There have been dozens like you who have come here seeking my Mercantile Manuscript. Every one of them failed this test and went home empty-handed. I started to think the world had gone dull since I retired. Here, take it.
What's this?
The key to the archive in which I placed my Mercantile Manuscript. Read to your heart's content.
Yippee! You sure it's all right?
I've grown old. I don't have much time left. When I pass, so too will my greatest treasure, correct? So I might as well pass on a part of that treasure to you, Partitio the merchant. The sum treasure of those who came before you.
You got it, fella. Thank you.
You got the Mercantile Manuscript archive key. You can now peruse the Mercantile Manuscript in the archives, which is in there. You never know what knowledge you may glean about items, equipment, and more. Are you still on me? Wait, do I have to I just hired you. What? Now you cost more? 20% off purchase is pretty good. I could, like, hire you and you'd actually give me a lot of savings over time. Like, I think it's legitimately worth me hiring you again. Okay, let's read. Oh my goodness! Right, are you ready for story time with Olizandri, Octopath Traveler 2 edition? Demi-humans are creatures that resemble humans and yet are entirely different beasts. There are 8 major types currently known. The verminous ratkin, the reptilian lizardmen, the avian birdians, the amphibian frogons, the simian apes, the subterranean moles, the feline kate, and the cephalopodon. Yeah, sure. Cephalopod. But it's adding an N, which makes it really bad for me. Cephalopodon? Yeah, sure. Octopaths. Demi-humans have displayed a propensity for much higher levels of intelligence than monsters and are known to employ tools to some extent in their daily lives, and yet to this day their origins remain shrouded in mystery. According to the histories, they simply appeared one day, as if by magic, throughout the world. 8 major types yet again. Kates are a skittish race, the most timid of all the demi-humans. According to myth, there was once a great war fought between humanity and the demi-humans. The conflict was long and bloody, but in the end, humanity emerged the victor. Through wisdom or foresight, the Kate alone sided with mankind during the strife, and this alliance won them a place within human society. Unfortunately, the clever and cunning nature of the Kate soon earned them the ire of their neighbors, and before long, they found themselves ostracized and cast out. Labeled as traitors by demi-human and human societies, the Kate withdrew from both to pursue isolated lives hidden away from all who might do them harm. The smell of beloved delicious catnip, seems to be the only thing that can draw them out of the hidden places they call their homes, which must mean I can get that stuff. Octopaths are the most independent of all the demi-humans and are the only ones that chose not to participate in the mythological war between humanity and the demi-humans. They are known to prefer travel to battle, and it is said that they only stop their wanderings when the time on this earth is over. There are many superstitions surrounding the Octopath. Their passion for travel and idealistic search for paradise has led some to believe they are symbols of good fortune. There are even rumors that only those pure of heart can encounter them. Of course, adults who have long ago lost the innocence of childhood can still employ cunning to improve their odds of encountering these rare creatures. Octopaths favor small, dark spaces, and so the shrewd use Octopath pots to draw them out. The shrewd use them, yes. Reach for the next shelf. Oh, okay, we can go along with that. All demi-humans possess a certain modicum of intelligence. For example, Ratkin are known to steal and employ human weaponry and clothing, and Birdians possess the ability to craft primitive stone axes. And yet a burning question remains unanswered. Who fabricated the crowns and other ornaments that demi-human leaders are often seen wearing?
As far as we know, the demi-humans do not possess the technology or art to craft such intricate accessories. More curious yet, both the make and material of these ornaments are clearly not of human design. So where did they come from? Where, for that matter, did the demi-humans themselves come from? This is merely a theory without any evidence to support it, but perhaps these strange creatures hail from another world entirely. Guarding the town of Stormhail in the Winterlands is the Great Wall, a colossal construction that has long kept the town safe from external threats. A local legend states this massive fortification was raised in a single night by the gods themselves, sturdy and strong yet intricate in its design. It is clear that this wall is indeed a feat of engineering beyond what modern civilization is capable of. The legend of this wall continues thus. The Great Wall is merely one small segment of some greater fortress, and the central citadel itself lies deep underground. Many archaeologists have spent years attempting to uncover this hidden redoubt to no avail. More curious is the event that occurred some 820 years ago. An enormous cavity suddenly appeared in the Great Wall, though none knew who created it or how. Later given the name of the Pit of Darkest. It was the catalyst for a conflict between the fallen kingdom of Jaul and Delstash. This struggle would later be known as the War of the Great Wall. The gate to the Netherworld. The poet Kai penned this passage some 100 years ago. On an island lost in sea split twain lies a portal to an alien plane. Beware, be warned, ye fools who'd approach, for none should draw near, this gate encroach. When Kai first published this passage, it was assumed this island was a mere figment, the product of a poet's overactive imagination. However, in recent years, Kai's less well-known history as an adventurer has come to light, and scholars have begun to debate whether his poems were not fantasy, but in fact the annals of his travels. A warning for you who reads this entry. Though the existence of a portal to an alien plane seems preposterous, we must remember that what seemed impossible yesterday becomes common sense tomorrow. Sneer at what you don't understand at your own peril, for one day you may find yourselves on the wrong side of the truth. Oh my god, the world is flat! I'm not that dumb. None? Oh my god, there's so much to read! Weaponsmithing. There exist only 6 primary weapon categories: swords, polearms, daggers, axes, bows, and staves. Actually, this is not an accurate statement. Bound by the rules of the Blacksmith Guild, the manufacture of weapons outside of these 6 categories is strictly forbidden! Why limit the scope of human imagination? Religion, of course. The 6 weapon types are those wielded by the gods, and they will tolerate no other, or at least that's the lie disguising the greedy truth. The fact is, it is much easier to monopolize the materials and techniques for arms production if you can limit what can be made, or so a little bird told me anyway. Whatever the truth, this prohibition has resulted in very few wielders of whips, flails, and so on. Crazy. Among the many weapons one may find in this world, some are imbued with magical properties. These enchanted weapons are both rare and powerful. There are 2 primary means of crafting an enchanted weapon. The first sounds simple in principle, but is in fact quite difficult to achieve. Few craftsmen possess the necessary skills. Simply put, magic must be carefully folded into the weapon during the forging process. The second method is much rarer and harder to replicate. These enchanted weapons gain their power naturally, the magic imbued over many years of use by a gifted wielder. Very few of these have been documented, and it is thought that only those with incredibly powerful wills can make these miraculous weapons spring into being. Ornamentation. What is ornamentation? Literally interpreted, it refers to ornaments worn for fashion, like a big floppy garish hat. This assumption is a common one, but it is in fact erroneous. The truth of the matter is that true ornamentation refers only to special jewels crafted by dedicated sacred craftsmen. Only a handful of leaders are permitted to wear these ornamentations, partly because many of them are imbued with unique magical properties. Prime examples would be an amulet that protects against offensive magic, or a necklace that greatly increases the abilities of its wearer. Unfortunately, the knowledge and techniques needed to craft these potent relics are slowly being lost, and their rarity is only bound to increase as the sands of time continue to fall. A thing of the past. Battle-tested armaments. To the victor go the spoils, a long-standing tradition adhered to by those who live by the sword. The stronger take from the strong until at last the day comes when the ultimate warrior and ultimate weapon are united. When a weapon has triumphed over countless foes, remaining undefeated in the hands of a skilled wielder, it becomes what is known as battle-tested armament. Nowhere is it written that these armaments must be a masterwork weapon crafted by a renowned smith. No, these weapons are forged in the fires of battle. As they taste the blood of innumerable mighty warriors, they awaken to a greater power that dwarfs that of their humble origins. The bards sing of legendary weapons passed down through countless ages. After untold thousands of fierce battles and stunning victories, they have acquired power beyond imagining. A sword that can cleave the sun, a spear that can pierce the moon, a dagger that can send all the stars in the sky tumbling down, an axe that can split the earth in twain, a bow that can transfix the heavens, a staff that can call up calamities untold. Of course, these are mere turns of phrase, exaggerations no doubt. Still, very few know of the true power of the battle-tested armaments. Why, you ask? Because most of these weapons have long slept in graves beneath the soil. They sound like the best weapons, but there's also divine weapons. Never mind. In times of yore, the gods entrusted humanity with 6 divine weapons so that they could protect themselves from evil. The Conqueror's sword, the Warlord's spear, the Dancer's blade, the Lionheart's axe, the Hunter's bow, and the Spirit Lord's staff. It's said that each of these weapons houses incredible power and that those who can unlock it will earn themselves the title of Arms Master. And yet the divine weapons were too mighty for humankind, driven by greed and ambition. The Arms Masters soon began to quarrel amongst themselves. One by one, these artifacts were lost, and with them, the skills and knowledge needed to wield them. Still, there are some who remember. Among these learned few, it is thought that the rightful heirs to the secrets of these weapons still reside in this land, passing their knowledge down through generations of chosen successors. Of course, this is more likely than not just an empty fantasy. Alright, we're halfway there. I'll take a sip for that. Oh, we need to know about grapes and plums. Grapes, delicious grapes! They heal the body, while the tart juices of the plum revitalize the spirit. These 2 restorative fruits are ubiquitous throughout the world. Yet there is a darker side to these innocuous-seeming treats. According to some myths, their cultivation was forbidden to man by the gods themselves. There are many tales why, but 2 stand out above all else. Firstly, the devilish liquid called liquor can be easily made from their juices, and the gods do not look with favor on those who drown themselves in drink. The second most widespread story states that they were prohibited because of how easily they could be turned to use as tools of war. Whichever of these myths may be true, it seems that humanity has broken a sacred promise with the divine. We've got lore about the healing items, and they're actually like, what? The gods don't want people using them? Okay. The lychee, a succulent fruit from the outer continent that activates the latent power of an individual. Though its beneficial effects are well documented, it is equally well known for the difficulty of its cultivation. Many talented farmers and merchants have tried their hand at raising crops of lychee over the years, but none of their efforts have borne fruit, literally. Meanwhile, a baseless rumor has long made the rounds in the cultivation community. According to some, the lychee must drink the blood of humans to produce its yield. This sinister story has been the cause even of many tragedies, as unscrupulous fools seek to write their fortune in their victims' blood. Because of this, the lychee has earned itself an unpalatable appellation, the vampire fruit. Nuts too. Nuts, nuts, nuts! The fruit of certain trees with a hard shell concealing nutrient-rich meat and seed within. Nuts are enjoyed the world round as foodstuffs. However, not all nuts are created equal. Those harvested from some wild trees have powerful effects that have proven to enhance a human's abilities. Scholars have classified these as rare nuts and have poured blood, sweat, and tears into cracking the secrets to cultivating these precious products. Yet little progress has been made. It seems the moment the cultivation is attempted, the nuts lose their special properties. The mystery remains unsolved, and so these nuts remain a highly sought after and prized commodity. Obviously talking about their rarity. Concoction. Concoction is the process by which 2 or more materials are mixed together to craft medicine. Legend states that it was Dota the Charitable who bestowed this holy art upon humanity. Yet the truth is more impressive by far. Generations of healers have, through trial and error, discerned the medicinal effects of plants, seeds, stones, and more. They mixed, brewed, and ultimately tested their concoctions upon themselves, a testament to humanity's bravery and sacrifice in its pursuit of knowledge. Concoction, however, is not simply knowledge of ingredients' properties. No. A skilled apothecary must know how to judge a patient's symptoms and measure the correct amounts to treat their ills. As such, any apothecary able to simultaneously mix 3 ingredients is a master of their craft, and any who can mix 4 can be considered a genius. Though it is not impossible to mix more than this number, this monumental feat is almost unheard of. You mean when we fully go up with the binding? Boom, 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 boom. Principles of the Soul Stone. Soul stones are items which, when subjected to a significant enough physical shock, can unleash effects equivalent to certain spells. Though the exact process by which this occurs remains a mystery, it has long been hypothesized that they are stones that have been imbued with the power of spirits. Recent studies, however, have given rise to a new theory that is gaining traction among the learned. According to this theory, soul stones are the crystallized remains of a magically potent monster's corpse. If this well, cool. We're going to use that for stained glass windows. If this theory is true, it may become possible for efforts to artificially mass-produce mighty soulstones in the not-too-distant futures. That's a lot of culling. The question then becomes, to what use will we put this power once it is in our hands? Though I'm excited by the possibilities, I also find myself terrified of them in equal measure. There's more on this shelf. There are many afflictions which can plague a patient, and each requires a very specific herbal remedy. Confusingly enough, the herb used to treat all of the standard combative ailments is the same, herbweed. This useful herb's effects can vary greatly depending on how it is prepared. Taken in one sense, it shows how precious this medicinal plant is. Taken in another, it shows just how simple the human body's makeup can be. As a side note, herbweed can also be used to add a bit of zest to cuisine. How grand! Not only can it speed someone along the road to recovery, but it can speed them to the dinner table as well. The origin of bottling. In the arid desert lands of Hinuruma, having a good water bottle can mean the difference between life and death. To better store and preserve every last drop of precious liquid, the people poured much effort into perfecting the art of bottle crafting. Among all the many types of bottles, those crafted by the small Recon clan are the finest. Manufactured through secret methods, they are unmatched in their lightweight construction and durable frames. Unfortunately for the Recon clan, their monopolization of these secrets earned them the ire and jealousy of other clans, eventually sparking a bloody conflict. Nevertheless, what the Recon clan lacked in military strength, they made up for in brutal cunning. Their victory became assured after they hit upon the idea of filling their bottles with poison and flinging them at their enemies. It was thus that the defensive martial art known as bottling was born. Wait, it's kind of what I'm doing. Beastling foodways. Beastlings are tenacious hunters known to stalk their quarries for days on end. Their vocation requires not just skills at tracking and felling beasts though, but at preserving the meat of their prey as well. The earliest developed methods of preservation were simple. Salting and drying are easy and effective. Eventually, however, tired of the same old fare, there were those who sought tastier techniques. Lava steaming, saltwater tenderization, underground fermentation. All of these and more were passed down among the beastlings, and over the centuries this led to the development of unique culinary cultures. Nowadays, in the kitchens of New Delsa's most fashionable bistros, famed chefs find inspiration in the beastlings' innovative methods. Etymology of leaf as currency name. Herbweed, a miraculous plant required to craft every variety of healing herb. Its discovery revolutionized medicine and has saved innumerable lives, earning it the epithet the plant of the gods. Unfortunately, herbweed is notoriously difficult to cultivate and only grows natively in a few limited regions. Because of this, as the apothecary art advanced, so too did the value and rarity of this irreplaceable ingredient. Eventually, this caused its price to spiral out of control. To curb this growing problem, various lands put ministers or lords in charge of overseeing herbweed production and trade, and soon the price of each precious leaf was fixed. This stability eventually led merchants, commoners, and nobles alike to begin using leaves in place of other currencies. Disputable though this is, it is widely believed that the origin of leaf as common parlance for currency originates from this time. I'm a bit worried about the final bookshelf, because once you've gone through it all, it depends, but actually, the Japanese way would be to read from right to left, wouldn't it, maybe? Don't know if that's how they tackle bookshelves, though. I'm worried about finding something else I don't want to find out, do you know what I mean? Like some really dark, horrible thing happens. Southwest Solistia, where the desert sands stretch as far as the eyes can see, and yet hidden among the barren dunes is an oasis, a strip of semi-arid terrain running north and south along the river lands. Here the soil is fertile, and barley and corn can be grown in relative abundance. Countless wars have been waged over the water and resources of this region, and not a few kingdoms have risen and fallen in this place over the centuries. It is also here that legends of priestess Hinoekugurla, the conjurer goddess, have survived and been passed down. It is these tales that lend this land its name, Hinuruma. In the eye of the desert sits Sai, a fortress city once known as the Orochi Bastion. Once held by the forces of Yu, it was taken by Ku 2 decades ago. Northwest of this can be found Ryu, a well-known traveler stop, where information from all across the world eventually settles. One might be surprised that so many blisteringly short names like Ku and Yu are common to the desert regions. Locals say the propensity for brevity is because the longer the mouth flaps, the more sand finds its way in. But the truth of the matter is unknown. The conjurer goddess. I think that's the information we take out of that. Northwest Solistia is a barren wasteland, a blasted expanse of volcanic rock that resists even the loneliest blade of grass. The few brave souls who eke out their resistance, their resistance to it, but their existence here have long suffered the sulfuric winds of Fiutsuro and its unstable neighbors. And yet life always finds a way. Among the rock and stone dwell the goat, an unusually large breed of goat who subsist on a meager fare of local weed. Unlike other goats, they exceed bovines in their capacity for producing milk, grow fleece more suitable for cloth than sheep, and even produce extraordinarily flavorful meat as well. In all matters of livestock, they outstrip the competition and so have become known as the jewels of the wasteland. The cheese produced from their milk is especially scrumptious and has become a local specialty. As a final note, the volcanic soil conceals a wealth of valuable minerals. Many small mining towns have sprung up here, including the southern town of Orsrush, established by silver merchants Pap and Rock. They got their names in here, look. The Leaflands. Western Solistia is home to the small lakeside kingdom of Timberain. Surrounded by great sweeps of verdant forest, this land is rich in natural resources. Thick woodland loam provides fertile ground for agriculture, and the seemingly inexhaustible supply of trees fuels industries such as lumber and paper manufacturing. The small village of Cropdale is famous for its raspberries and peaches, and its fruit pies are widely known to be especially scrumptious. That being said, this rural settlement has an abundance of peach-centric cuisine. Peach jam, peach juice, peach salad, peach soup, sauteed peach, fried peach, peach pilaf, steamed peach, to name just a few. Some might say Cropdale has an overabundance of peach dishes. That's simply because the locals just can't decide on a favourite. In the south of this area, one can find the town of Wellgrove. Though it has grown wealthy through a brisk trade with the resource-poor desert regions further south, the disparity in wealth this has created is the seed for ceaseless conflict and turmoil along the border. Yeah, it's going to be a lot more, but we're getting near the end. Harborlands. Southern Solistia is home to long tracts of twisting coastline, along which one can find the bustling port of Canal Brine. During the age of exploration, roughly 100 years ago, ships launched from this town's piers would discover the sea routes that led to the eastern continent. Canal Brine's symbol is its colossal lighthouse, which doesn't work, which guides ships from all corners of the world safely into its harbour. Erected roughly 20 years ago by a cartellé of engineers who fled the destruction of the U, it boasts a unique design. Special ore was polished to a mirror sheen and fashioned into a reflector plate, and the light it emits can supposedly be seen all the way in New Delsta. Today, Canal Brine's church is an important launching point for proselytizers and evangelists who come from the eastern continent to spread the teachings of the sacred flame. Totohaha. Southern Solistia, or southeastern, is dominated by an ocean dotted by countless islands of all shapes and sizes. The largest of these is Totohaha, which was first encountered by continental pioneers 20 years ago. In its western reaches reside the Beastlings, a petite people with fluffy tails. On the east of Totohaha lies the town of Topohopu, which was established by the first continental pioneers to settle on the islands. The harbour town's proximity to New Delsta caused it to be developed as a resort for the wealthy. In addition, it produces many luxury goods, such as delicious coffee beans, and now serves as an important stop along the trade routes between eastern and western continents. Since ancient times, the Beastlings have long referred to the northern of the two islands as Haha and the southern as Toto. However, ever since a local festival celebrating the bonds of family and prosperity of the entire Beastling race was established, names of both islands have been combined into one, Totohaha. Eastern Solistia is a urban region home to the continent's largest city. Blessed by a warm sunshine and a pleasant climate, it soon became known as the Bright Lands. Agricultural abundance caused the region to flourish and people flocked here in droves. Wealth soon followed and development soon after. Before long, buildings like theatres and game parlours were erected to entertain the ever-growing crowds, and now the light of civilization shines as bright here as the sun does overhead. At the centre of all this lies the Brightlands' beating heart, New Delsta. Established approximately 50 years ago by emigrants from the former Kingdom of Delstash, the people gave this new home a name that honoured their old. Finally, in the east of these lands can be found Clockbank, an industrial centre that has prospered ever since the Age of Discovery. Probably where we're heading next, I'd imagine. When we get through this. This is the last three. The outer continent seems to be the interesting one, to be honest. Crestlands, Northeast Solistia. A land of mountains and hills. Perched high atop one stony peak rises Elfric Cathedral, the center of the Sacred Flame faith. Adherents of this religion's tenets have worshipped the sacred flame that the cathedral houses since time immemorial. An ancient record dated 1500 years ago makes mention of the sacred flame's veneration continuing since the misty days of the past. Even through the bitterly cold winter a century previous, the flame continued to warm the hearts and souls of all who visited. In both name and spirit, the sacred flame and its church are the divine lords of this land. At the base of the cathedral lies the small town of Flame Church. Though its population is small, the townsfolk make a good living providing for the crowds of pilgrims who travel here to visit the cathedral. Winterlands. Northern Solistia is a frozen place of snow and ice. Its capital is Stormhail, a mountainous city that houses the Sacred Guard. Established roughly 380 years ago, the Sacred Guard was the brainchild of Archbishop Kinkler? Sure. He was crabby when he was young. After the cold snap that assailed the eastern continent in the previous century, the Order established its headquarters here. To this day, this holy organization's mission remains unchanged, to uphold law and order across the continent. It is said that Stormhail owes its existence to its guardian, Glacis, residing on the sacred peak Altahe. It is thought that Glacis put an end to the cold snap that nearly spelled doom for all who lived here. Travel towards the coast and you will find the fishing town of Cape Cold. Great hauls of salmon, trout, mackerel, squid, and more are brought in almost daily. In addition, many who dwell here working agriculture or textiles, and lately a hardy species of cold-resistant barley has caused quite a stir. Our last bit then, the outer continent. The farthest edges of the four corners of Solistia are detailed on no maps. Called the outer continent, the reasons why these vast stretches remain unexplored are many. Passably high mountains and deadly currents, to name a few. Of course, in my opinion, it is less the difficulty of the task and more indolence that has left these areas uncharted. Think about it for a moment. Ku is at war with some unnamed kingdom or kingdoms to its south. Immigrants from some unknown eastern locale walk the streets of New Delster. Fruit from the west and textiles from the north are smuggled into our lands with abandon. The unknown is a place of magical appeal to me. What sights are there to be seen across the horizon? What strange music? What surprising smells? What fascinating spices and cuisine to tempt the taste buds? All of these draw my curiosity, but more than that, all offer unimaginable opportunities for a merchant with business savvy and a healthy wanderlust. I hope the leaders of our lands move quickly to pen maps of these mysterious lands in the outer continent. Outer continent, a poor name for a universe of possibility. We are prisoners in a tiny cave called Solistia, satisfied by shadows cast by a light that streams in from outside the walls, which confine us. It's quite interesting, that. Well, that is it. We have read everything in here. My goodness. Here again this hour, you're very passionate about your merchant studies. I am. I've read it all. Meanwhile, I think I'll hire you, even though it costs a lot.
Let's work up a nice sweat.
Because I feel like you'll make me more money back than 9,600. Are you still here after story time? That was a big one. My throat is dry from all the talking. Quite a lot in a small space of time.